Evening. Welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. This time I'm calling the meeting to order. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a roll call, please.
Roll call begin. Jeff Jar.
Here.
Jackson Paul. Medina Atchison is excused. Bernie Grant is excused. Sherry Budd is excused. Brian Cullen.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Okay, I see four of us. That is enough for a quorum. We can move forward. Approval of agenda. You have an agenda before you. Do I have any action concerning the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as submitted. With support.
We have a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify, any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving ahead, minutes. We also have the minutes from the regular meeting of July 22nd, 2026. Do I have any action concerning that item?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes from the meeting of July 22nd, 2026 as presented. Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of July 22nd, 2026. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving ahead, correspondence and announcements. The City of Belleville and Sumter Township have upcoming Planning Commission meetings tomorrow night at Belleville, City of Belleville at 6:30 and Sumter Township at 6. Do we have any other correspondence or announcements?
Chair, I do not have any correspondence this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is a public hearing for case 26015, Crossroads North Building 10, special land use approval. Request by Ashley Capital to construct Building 10 at their Crossroads North site, which is classified as a distribution center. This distribution center consists of one building with a ground area of approximately 799,668 square feet of space and affiliated site improvements. The parcel is located on south side of Van Buren Road, west of Haggerty Road. Its ID is 83-005-00004-703. I need action to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I would at this time move to open the public hearing.
Support. Motion and support to open the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open. Do we have any comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I don't see any public comments at this time.
Neither I, so I'd entertain a motion to close.
Through the chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
Motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion? With that, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving ahead, public hearing number 2. Item 2, case 26-010, Shell Gas Station Rebuild, special land use approval. Request by Belleville Real Estate LLC to demolish and rebuilding an existing gasoline filling station. The gasoline filling station consists of an approximately 3,400 square foot retail building, a fueling canopy, and affiliate site improvements. The parcel is located at 11530 Belleville Road at the southwest corner of Belleville Road and the South I-94 Service Drive intersection. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move to open the public hearing.
Support.
Motion and support to open the public hearing. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, public hearing is open. Any comments from the public? Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Through the chair. I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Creel, supported by Commissioner Jar to close the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Okay, unfinished business. New business, item number 1. Crossroads North Building 10, special land use and preliminary site plan approval. Request by Ashley Capital to construct Building 10 at the Crossroads North site, which is classified as a distribution center. This distribution center consists of one building with a ground area of approximately 799,668 square feet of space and affiliated site improvements. The parcel is located on the south side of Van Born Road, west of Haggerty Road. Parcel ID 83-005-01-0004-703. Excuse me. First up, presentation by Township staff. Ms. Williams.
I will turn it over to our planning associate, Lauren.
Super quick,
Oh.
point of order. The parcel ID in the packet, or on the agenda versus what is at the top of the packet is different. On the agenda, it's 83-005-01. On the packet, it is, or at the top of the item in the packet, parcel number 83-005-99.
That'd be on the two McKenna letters where it's listed as 99 instead of 01. Any idea which one it is?
Lauren, do you have it pulled up? If not, I can look it up while you're reading your letter.
Have to pull it up.
You're fine. I can do that while you're reading your letter, if that's okay with commission. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this site is located in, it's a little bit split zoned on the parcel with between MT and M1, but the distribution center itself is completely within the MT district. So within that zoning district, distribution centers are special land use. So I will go through the special land use review first and then into the preliminary site plan. So in reviewing against the 9 standards of the zoning ordinance, we find that given the industrial nature, the lack of anticipated adverse impacts to neighboring properties, and the overall ability to meet the criteria in the site plan portion, that it would be appropriate for Planning Commission to recommend approval of this request based on final site plan approval and any conditions that engineering or the fire marshal might have. Any questions on the special land use? Otherwise, I'll go right into the site plan. So the portion of this building, it's in between buildings 8 and 9 and building 11, which you might recall. So buildings 8 and 9 were approved in 2024, and building 11's already been constructed. As part of building 11, there was the site was mass graded, so there is sort of a area already existing for Building 10. But the overall, I guess, site, which is outlined in the yellow on the first page, is 175 acres. So off the bat, some additional information that we require on the site plan. On the first page, in the details, they detail the acres. It appears that the CRN 11 parcel is about 20 acres short from the previous plans submitted, so correcting and confirming that. Statement of any intended phases and development schedule, estimated number of employees, and number of floors on the building are all items that we require to be noted on the site plan. We would defer to the township engineer and fire marshal on the circulation and traffic. We would defer to the township engineer. They did submit an updated traffic memo and are anticipating that there's going to be less traffic than previously submitted in their memo based on the tenant, which will be a medical supply distributor. They are proposing 542 parking spaces and 58 deferred spaces. So the deferred spaces are shown in the south parking lot. So they could add those spaces if it's required. Previously, Planning Commission did approve deferred spaces on other buildings in this, but this is subject to Planning Commission approval. The mechanical equipment, we require the ATS to be labeled on what that is and clarify that, and then confirm if there's any roof-mounted equipment. Regarding the landscaping, it gets a little bit hard to follow, so that's why we kind of provided some general notes on the extent. The landscaping previously for this site has been largely, a lot of the elements have been considered at a site-wide scale. So hopefully the overview helps in providing kind of where some of the buffers are being met. The only item outstanding would just be open space landscaping being identified on the site plan, or if there is no open space, noting that on the site plan. The tree replacement numbers did change. The applicant did email some clarifications on why. We just want a clarification on why these numbers changed from the previous submittal, but they are still overall meeting that replacement requirement. The lighting for the parking lot in the north is ever so slightly out of compliance by 0.1 foot candle. And then we also require any lighting at the property line to be noted so that we can ensure that it's compliant. The fences, they show a more decorative wrought iron-looking aluminum fence running north, I believe it's fence east-west, or they do not label the east-west fence, but they do label the north-south chain link fence. So clarification on kind of which fences are going where. So overall, most of the items are either just information that needs to be added rather than compliance issues. I won't go through all of them. And then also areas where Planning Commission needs to approve or grant a waiver to. So those would be the 58 parking spaces, the increase in the lighting to 35 feet, the increase in the foot candles. Planning Commission can approve up to 5 foot candles, I believe. And then the fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet. And also approving the fence to be non-decorative, which would be the chain link. But given all that, we would recommend granting preliminary site plan approval subject to those conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As has been discussed already, this site plan has been in development, it seems like for almost 10 years now, between all the different buildings. So we've kind of looked at the feasibility and the Ashley Capital has looked at this site for future improvements. So we don't have much to say as far as the engineering feasibility goes, but I'll kind of go through our list of things that we noticed and things that are happening on the site, maybe that are a little bit different than what we saw when buildings 8 and 9 came across our desk. So for the water main on site, in the build out for building 11 and buildings 8 and 9, the applicant did anticipate connections to the water system for both of those, and their plans now indicate an 8-inch water main loop around the northwest and south side of building 10 that connects to the existing water main constructed as part of building 11, as well as 2 connections to the existing 12-inch water main constructed as part of buildings 8 and 9. Based on it being preliminary site plans and non-full engineering, we didn't have any comments. There's some comments in here a little bit about what needs to be included as part of the engineering plans, but for the most part, everything's in compliance that we would typically see at this stage. Hydrant placement will be subject to the township fire marshal, and in general, they just need to finalize and complete the engineering style drawings when it comes to that point. Sanitary sewer, along the same lines, was anticipated in the future build out, and the proposed building has a 10-inch sanitary sewer around the building on all 4 sides, connecting to sanitary leads and ultimately connecting to the 10-inch sanitary sewer constructed as part of buildings 8 and 9. Stormwater management, again, in anticipation for this build out, the stormwater management system was built out, presuming that a building of this nature would be placed here, and was built to meet that level. And so there are no modifications proposed to the site basins at this time. I guess the only thing that we would like to see on the plans is just verification that they are meeting the same criteria that was proposed when the site drainage or site storage was predicted. Other than that, and one thing that's not in this list as part of when they were building out buildings 8 and 9 and clearing for 10, Ashley Capital did install some of the storm water structures to help drain the lot when they were having some just standing water and some drainage. We had talked with Ashley Capital at the time, just indicating that whatever they do install needs to be shown on the plans as previously installed, and then anything else that any modifications that they make to that system should be clearly labeled. And then obviously we will be inspecting those as they get built out for this round of the kind of the new layout with the new building 10. No comments on paving and grading, other than, Township Fire Marshal's review on the emergency access for the fire trucks with the new building layout. And that's pretty typical at this stage. We did review, Fishbeck Traffic Engineers did review the traffic impact study memo that was prepared by Fleece and Vanderbrink. There were no changes to the recommendations or improvements which have already been installed. Obviously, we've seen the traffic light on Haggerty, and we agreed with the results of the trip generation analysis for the new building, and agree with no changes or recommendation changes from what was previously approved. Other than that, normal permitting requirements for water main, sanitary sewers through Eagle, and Wayne County permits as required. But at this time, based on the feasibility and of the Building 10 site plans dated July 22nd, 2026. We would recommend approval of preliminary site plans and, based on, or subject to the comments in our letter dated August 5th, 2026. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Or Williams, excuse me. One of these days I'll have it right.
And I was ready to correct you that time, just because you told me to. I would like to get back to Jackson's comment. The parcel ID number that is on the McKenna letter is correct with the 99 on it. The one on the agenda that says 01 is incorrect. The one that did go out on the public hearing notice is the one that was in the letter, so it was noticed correctly with the 99. I just incorrectly put it on our agenda. Welcome.
Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I have the fire marshal letter dated August 3rd, 2026. And it says, water supply, an approved water supply capable of supplying the required fire flow for fire protection shall be provided to all premises upon which facilities, buildings, or portions of buildings are hereafter constructed or moved into the jurisdiction. The hydrants on the east and west side of the building are 678 feet apart. This spacing is creating a gap in coverage that needs to be addressed. A fire hydrant shall be installed within 100 feet of a fire department connection. For fire department access, he says, approved access roads shall be provided for every facility, building, or portion of a building hereafter constructed. An emergency vehicle access plan showing vehicle movement around the entire development shall be submitted using the dimensions of the Van Buren Township Fire Department ladder truck. They are listed in his letter. No parking fire lane signs shall be provided for fire apparatus access roads. The installation of security gates across a fire apparatus access road shall be provided by the fire code official. Where security gates are installed, they shall have an approved means of emergency operation. Key boxes, knock box shall be installed in an approved location. New and existing buildings shall be provided with approved address identification. Fire protection equipment rooms shall be identified in approved manner. Approved signs are required to identify fire protection system equipment and shall be permanently installed and readily visible. Aerial fire apparatus access roads shall have a minimum unobstructed width of 26 feet. Fire hydrants subject to vehicular damage shall be protected. Where required by the fire code official, gas shutoff valves, electric meters, service switches, and other utility equipment shall be clearly and legibly marked and identify the unit of space it serves. Immediate access to the fire department connection shall be maintained at all times and without obstruction. Access to the FDC shall be approved by the fire code official. And for general comments, the emergency responder radio coverage approved in building two-way emergency radio, responder radio coverage shall be provided in all new buildings unless it is determined by the fire code official that the radio coverage system is not needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, presentation from the applicant. Ashley Capitals, please come up, identify yourselves, please.
Good evening, Kyle Morton from Ashley Capital. Is there a way for me to connect this? And I just don't want to start pulling things out. Thank you. I hope so. Oh, there we go. I think that worked. Thank you. Perfect. Great, good evening. I guess I'm going to start with just saying all the review comments that we heard we're fully in agreement with. I think largely minor clarification items and noted the fire marshal's comment, which we'll run through a few updates of the project, both the overall park and then this project specifically. I think just helpful to kind of ground where we stand with the overall project. But the intent is to resubmit for engineering approval as soon as next week. So we're moving very quickly and kind of give you some summary and context in the presentation. So just as we discussed, overall site plan for, let's say, Crossroads North, in the townships kind of lingo, we call this phase 1 and 2. Buildings 4, 5, and 6 were phase 1. Buildings 8, 9, 10, and 11 were phase 2. So this largely occurred back in 2023, 2024 when we were doing building 11, which is DSV, which is on the kind of on the bottom left-hand corner of the page. So as mentioned in the engineering review summary, the mass grading of the site is done. The detention ponds have all been built and are established. Kind of the internal road network, kind of our access points to both Van Born and Haggerty roads and E-course to the south are all complete. We're not proposing any new curb cuts on county roads. The traffic signal and all the Haggerty road work has been completed. That, going back to that time period in 24, that was not done yet. And then the Haggerty Road landscaping berm is complete. We did that back with building 11 just to make sure that had time to grow in and look as good as it does now today. So I put the building 10 in the box in red. That's really the limits of the proposed work we're talking about. And don't have to run through all, linear when all this happened. We got the question when we met with Ron Akers, just, is this the last building? Technically it is not in a kind of our this is the last big piece of land that we have. It's the piece in the middle of the site. I put the note at the bottom, call it a phase 3. We do own some land that's on Haggerty Road, which would be south of building 8. And then we do own some land that's north along Van Born Road. You'll probably notice that building 7 is missed in all of the counting. That was intentional. We do have plans for a building 7 at some point, and then there would be a future building 12, hopefully up on Van Born Road, but let's say that's a few years out. So for the immediate time frame, this is between 8 and 9 under construction, and this building that should carry us for a little bit of time. Joe Webb, our civil engineer, put together just the zoning map, which I thought would be helpful just as we talk about the MT, the M1. We have a little bit of residential zoning still existing around the perimeter. Those are properties we don't own. I wanted to highlight the conditional zoning piece. I know we came forward to this body for conditional zoning change. That was the building that was Arnex Energy. It got approved here, but it actually stalled out. We didn't take it forward to the township board. Subsequently, we actually last week signed a lease with Gardner White for 600,000 feet, and they're going to take over and consolidate all of their distribution and furniture operations in the entire metro area into that building. So a big win, does not require a zoning change, works within the parameters of what was really the M2 battery M1 use. So that'll be a big change, and was the vacancy that was in the park. So this is about 2 weeks old, so we currently have a decking on building 8 right now, but was trying to give an aerial just to look at the overall park. So Haggerty Road's on page left. Building 8, which is roughly 200,000 feet, is under construction and hopefully should be done in about 2 months. So roofing should start going on here soon, and paving is ongoing. So they started painting today on the Haggerty frontage, so looks great. And then building 10, you can see the big stone pad. This is kind of a slightly different angle of it, but effectively this building pad, when we originally brought this forth 2 years ago, let's say 2-3 years ago, this was made for a 600,000 square foot building. Ms. Krishnan back then said, don't come forward with special land use approval until you specifically knew what you were doing. We got lucky because what that was is not applicable right now. The building is going to be about 20% bigger than we originally planned. So this building pad just gets slightly larger, east-west. It stays the same north-south mostly, and that's building 10, the 800,000 footer. This is just a side view that shows the trees that separate buildings 10 and 11. That's in a conservation easement, which I'll touch on a little bit later, but basically all of our tree removals have been completed. What we're talking on landscaping is just a lot of trees we need to put back in, both that we kind of had banked in the process or are required for site plan. Right, so talking specifically about Building 10, this will look and feel very much like Building 6 and 11, which were what was our Next Energy's building and it is DSV's building. So 36-foot internal clear heights. The design looks very similar. I'll touch upon a few things. We're going to put some canopies along the dock wall, and there's also some outdoor structures that are for break areas for employees, but largely the same building. We are required for the special land use, so this, I'm not differentiating between site plan and special land use. It's kind of just one presentation here. What's leading this is the tenant that we're talking to has timing that they need to be in the building and operational by the first quarter of 2028, which seems really far from now, but just given lead times and construction sequencing in a building this big, we're moving pretty quickly. As was mentioned, so it's a Fortune 500 medical supply company. They're planning 800 employees in this location across 3 shifts. The operation inside is, let's say, 3/4 of the building is just racked. So medical supply distribution to the local hospital chains largely, but they also do home delivery and items like that. And then there's a pretty advanced material handling equipment and this kind of auto sort facility that's going in the building to be able to have high throughput of medical products. So think anything you would use at a hospital would come from something like this. We've shown these images previously. This is Building 6, so will look very similar. This was the finished version of Building 11, which is the DSV building. And then looks very similar, but this is the rendering for Building 10. On the page left, you'll see there's a canopy that's meant for the employee entrance and break. So we'll have two or three of those around the site. And then it's really small just because of the scale, but above the truck docks, there will be a canopy that runs the length of the building just to help with the weather impact. So looks and feels very much like the same building with just some minor tenant-specific modifications. The big one is the tenant's very focused on employee comfort and are anticipating doing HVAC for the facility, but also they're going to have skylights in the building. So not something you really will see from the road or from anywhere exterior, but just a change that we haven't done previously. So from a traffic routing perspective, I thought it would be helpful. We're working with the township and the county, and also in conjunction with Canton. We're struggling with some of the condition at Van Born Road. So this facility is actually flipped to come from the south. So the southeast corner of the building, kind of right where the green arrow is where the truck entrance and car entrance will be. So all cars and trucks will go through a guardhouse that's in that corner. There's no access currently planned to go up to Page Left or to the north. So there will be no traffic for this facility going on the northern Haggerty entrance or to Van Born. Everything will go either to Haggerty at the new construction, or at the new traffic signal, or we'll go south to Ecorse and use the traffic signal that's down there. The site plan review included the proposed fence plan, and I know we needed a modification on the resubmittal just to make sure we specified, but this would be very similar to both what we did with DSV and FedEx, that the fence that you can see from the roads in the middle would be the upgraded wrought iron looking aluminum fence. What runs behind the truck parking on the east and west sides of the building is just the vinyl coated black fence. So looks exactly like the other two projects. There's a chance we actually go with the full aluminum wrought iron in the entire plan, but we wanted to set the bar a little bit lower just in case the tenant chooses that. So these are the two photos. So the black vinyl coated chain link fence on the left, and then the upgraded aluminum wrought iron looking fence on the right. So this is what's you would see at buildings 5 and buildings 11 right now. Thought we'd just have two quick representative images. These are what the tenant provided us just from the canopies and the guard shack. So this is what we anticipate the guard shack being in the southeast corner of the building, as well as what the canopies will look like on the south. We'll have it on the south side of the building and smaller canopies on the east and west sides, just for outdoor break space that's covered. The last piece I want to cover is the conservation easements. So we had kind of talked about these a few years ago, more in concept of what was required to get our wetlands permits. But as of this past December, we ended up donating about 80 acres to Six Rivers Land Conservancy. So it's the parcels that are outlined. It's kind of hard to see, but it's A, D, E, and F, which this kind of on the scale will help. There's a substantial piece of the property that was donated to Six Rivers under a conservation easement. So what looked like land we owned all the way on the west is now in an easement owned by Six Rivers. I think Commissioner has a question there, see?
Mr. Chairman, do you think the applicant could just quickly point at A, B, C, D, and F on that monitor?
Yes.
It's like 2 steps, I can't see where they
Sure.
are. You're welcome, just point at them, walk up to the monitor. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. Ah, perfect, I understood. I'm sorry about that. Sorry.
Just clarification,
Yeah.
gotta have.
I think the easiest thing to think of is the two pieces, there's about 100 acres that were put in an easement to Eagle. The two pieces that we retained ownership on are the piece that sits between building 10 and 11, the long skinny piece in the middle of the site, and then the piece in the northeast corner that's close to where the church is. So both of those smaller pieces were kept with us because the Land Conservancy didn't want small pieces in between warehouses. So right now, it's the ITC corridor cuts it, but it's about 80 acres that's contiguous on both sides of Van Born Road. So I know they're in the process of working with the township to see how we can do public access and kind of a public benefit. That's their mandate, and it's a great piece of property with, and frankly, a lot of wetlands and cool features to it. So that's end of the presentation that I had for kind of the update of the overall park and the project specifically, and I guess I'll turn it back to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Commissioners, floor is open.
Chairman, I had a question about the 35-foot height of the proposed lighting. Is 35 foot consistent with the light fixtures on the rest of the campus? What's the justification for the height increase of the light fixtures? I'd direct that, Mr. Chairman, to our consultant first, and then maybe the applicant could answer.
I'm not entirely, I'd have to look back at the previous approvals to know if it was consistent. Maybe
Yeah,
Mr. Morton might have
Through the
that a little
chair,
quicker.
it matches the existing light poles that are for the projects to the south and east. So
Chairman, I had another question about the campus lighting. I believe our lighting standards within the township have changed in the last, certainly since the Ashley Capitol Building campus began. Do the lights on the existing campus, are they a very high temperature light? Are they very white, or are they more of a matching? Or how's this going to look with the new standard lights next to the campus, and have you considered it? I think that's a question for the applicant, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
we believe they're the same lighting and they should look like the existing facility.
Great.
Yeah. All LED lights.
Okay, all right. I'm sure I had another one, but I need a minute to think, so if someone else wants to.
Through the chair. Same question, but about the fence. Is that the same style fence that's at all the other facilities?
Correct. The buildings 5 and 11 have the same, it's kind of two different types of fence, and both of those are the exact same.
Yeah, the wrought that
So-
can be seen from the road and then chain link kind of behind.
Correct. Same heights and same general look.
Perfect.
There was an exception for the 8 foot on those buildings.
Correct.
And is that a security reason?
Correct. That's a tenant request. So when we've come forward on the site plan requests, I think going back to FedEx, we had the building was a speculative building. We actually come back for the fence. This we know in advance, so they're just asking for the same as the others.
Okay, perfect.
With regard to the fencing request, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we need to make a decision on that for preliminary, but we'd like to see the fencing, you know, it's obviously, it's got to be in the final site plan for final site plan review. But I would ask that our consultant also check and annotate on the full campus map where the two different types of fencing are. It would help us know, you know, what conditions have we put the wrought iron fence, it's not wrought iron, but the security fencing up instead of the vinyl coated hurricane fence. I'd just like to know where it is on the property so that I know we're being consistent and that it has a consistent look and a consistent application. I think our consultant could help us with that.
Yeah.
And I think our consultant would appreciate it if the applicant put that together for her review.
No, there are a lot of diagrams in this one, but it was partially because I was trying to parse it out, so.
For the benefit of the other commissioners, Mr. Chair, I do not see a problem with approving the deferral of the 58 parking spaces, no problem. I don't think I fully understand why we need a foot candle increase, why that's like that, or if maybe that could be adjusted somehow by moving a light fixture around. I don't think that needs to be waived for a preliminary review, but I think I'd like to have some more explanation of why it can't be conformant, why it needs the waiver. I don't need the explanation right now either, Ms. Sayre, but I think.
I don't think I have it. I'd have to defer to the applicant on it as well.
I didn't want you to think I needed you to pull that out of thin air, but I also don't think it's a requirement for granting a preliminary. I also don't think it's a point that would lead us to deny a preliminary, but I think for final, we'd want to know the logic behind the request a little more and exactly where.
Yeah, through the chair, I think we were off by 0.1 foot candles on the average, so let us revisit that and understand. We'll correct, either correct or justify that for final site plan.
Sounds good to me. The only other comment that I had was for Ms. Sayre. On your note, there was a page that had this page. It's done in red, green, blue, and yellow, and it doesn't photocopy. And if you're colorblind, you can't tell what you're looking at. If you could do your lines dashed or something so that when I get a photocopy of it, I don't look at it and go, oh, they're all exactly the same square. It would be a good thing. That's the only other comment I had on the whole thing, really. It looks like an Ashley Capitol building.
Last point, Mr. Chair. I think you mentioned that you agreed with all of the engineering and planning comments. There was a comment from the fire marshal or the fire chief about installing a fire hydrant. Is that all up to par or make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've added an additional hydrant on each side of the building, and that'll be in the plans that are submitted next week.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I did have one more question, an important one. The guardhouse and the canopies, do they appear on the applicant's plan at this time? They will have to appear on the plans for final. I didn't see them, but I wasn't specifically looking for them. Did it? I'm sorry. It's with Mr. Chairman, respectfully, the plan is, the scope of the building is big and the guard shack is small, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm mostly asking our reviewer, our consultant reviewer, to please check that the canopies are compliant and that the guard shack is also a compliant structure before final. Yeah.
If you were to look at sheet like 2.0, it shows the guardhouse like on the overall site plan. And then also, I believe it's on 2.3, it's more of a detail of that area. I do have a note for covered patio, but there was debate on like the south side of the building, exactly where that canopy was gonna be. So I just noted it as covered canopy. I can definitely add the actual canopy now that we know where it's gonna be going.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think I had overheard that it was gonna be a covered canopy for a bunch of truck parking as well, which makes a pretty long structure.
So, yeah, through the chair, see if I can put it, it's a really small, it's about 2 feet off the building that just comes off. It's more of an architectural element, so you would not see it on the site plan because it sits above it. It comes just out above the, yeah.
It's sort of like a shelter,
Yeah.
but continuous.
Yeah.
for
So,
the entire-
so you won't see the one that runs the length of the east and west sides of the building won't be shown on the site plan. You'll see they're dashed on the elevations. It's kind of hard to show when it's in 2D. So we tried to show it's really small on here, but the canopy for the break areas, which are on the left side of the page, those will be indicated on the site plan because they actually come out from the building.
Mr. Chairman, I like the architectural detail of the overhang on the, you know, the people's entrances. It looks nice, it looks really good. I just wanted to draw it to Ms. Sayers' attention. Let's just make sure it is part of the review. I know I missed it. That doesn't mean our professional missed it, but,
Scale though, it's really difficult
Really
on a,
hard. yeah. Okay, now I think I'm really done, Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
I have a question. With the guard shack, is that guard shack separate from other entrances or from other movement in? Or I guess, where exactly is the guard shack gonna be?
I'll point it out.
Okay, so it's gonna be on the interior of the site,
Of the campus.
right on the, okay.
So the road that runs from the traffic signal
Uh-huh,
and then runs south
yeah.
won't be blocked off. It's really interior to the parcel. And one of the main reasons the tenant wanted fencing in a guard shack is, you know, if we hadn't done that, people kind of could cut through and, you know, it's about I guess a half a mile long almost. They would run through the truck courts as a shortcut rather than using Haggerty, so can't do that anymore.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious how you were going to make sure that that area was secure versus, because so many entrances into the site.
Correct.
Okay,
And it does bring up a good point, Mr. Chairman, that we want to make sure that whatever guard facility is there, or guard shack is there, doesn't interfere with the fire department's access. Ms. Sayer, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to direct Ms. Sayer to also bring that to the attention of the fire marshal, just so that he's aware of it for his Knox box placement and his truck turning. That's why we have preliminary site plan approvals, right?
absolutely. Go through and get all this little stuff.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else, questions? Okay, is there any comment from the public? Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public? Okay. Now, commissioners, we have two items to consider here. We first have to determine whether we're going to grant the special land use. Then after that, if we so do, then we can take a look at preliminary site plan. We're gonna have to have two motions, one for special land use, then for preliminary site plan, just to clarify what we have to do. So with that in mind, do we have any action on the special land use?
My peers would like to make the motion, I'd be happy to yield the floor to it. Otherwise, I'd be perfectly willing to make that motion. I'm in support of it, so. Okay. Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to grant the applicant Ashley Capital the special land use approval to permit the construction of a Building 10 at their Crossroad North site. This distribution consisting of...
Yes.
So just point of,
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
so just to correct, I think we can't approve, we have to recommend to the township board.
Thank you, Commissioner. And that's why we have multiple commissioners.
That's right. Catch me
Why
when
didn't you, why didn't you make the motion? Mr. Chairman, let me just back off for a minute. Now, I'd like to resubmit that motion. I'd move to recommend to the township board that they grant the applicant, Ashley Capital, the special land use approval to permit the construction of Building 10 at their Crossroad North site. This distribution center consisting of one building with a ground area of approximately 799,668 square feet of space and affiliated site improvements. The parcel being located on the south side of Van Born Road, west of Haggerty Road, it being parcel ID 8300599004703. This being based on the analysis and subject to the conditions detailed in the letter of staff, from the letter of McKenna dated August 4th, 2026, with no other additional conditions for special land use.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jar, supported by Commissioner Paul. Any discussion concerning the motion? With that, roll call vote, please.
Roll call begin. Jackson Paul.
Yes.
Jeff Jar.
Yes.
Brian Cullen. Roll call complete.
So we have special land use. We are recommending to the board to grant you your special land use.
Thank you.
Now, for the second part of that, we have a preliminary site plan in front of us. Do we have any action concerning the preliminary site plan?
Chairman, I believe that's a motion that we can grant directly without,
Yes.
without recommendation to the township board. And at this time, I would move to grant the applicant, Ashley Capital, the preliminary site plan approval to construct the Building 10 at the Crossroads North site, as described in the previous motion. This being based on the analysis and subject to the conditions detailed in the letter of staff dated McKenna, sorry, no letter of staff tonight, the McKenna letter dated 3 August 26, the Fishback Engineering Report dated August 5th, 2026, and the Van Buren Township Fire Report dated 3 August 2026, with the additional notations that the Planning Commission does approve the 58 deferred parking spaces. The Planning Commission is deferring comment on the 35-foot height of proposed lighting, is deferring a decision on the foot candles, is deferring a decision on the fencing until such time as we have had a chance to review those items in the next revision of the site plan. Submitted for support.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jar, supported by Commissioner Creel. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Roll call begin. Jackson Paul.
Yes.
Jeff Jar.
Yes.
Peter Creel.
Yes.
Brian Cullen.
Yes,
Complete.
you have your preliminary site plan.
Very much. Have a good evening, and we'll be back for final site plan soon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as we move ahead, we have before us item number 2, case 26-010, Shell Gas Station rebuild. We have a special land use and preliminary site plan approval. It is a request by Belleville Real Estate LLC to demolish and rebuild an existing gasoline filling station. This gasoline filling station consists of an approximately 3,400 square foot retail building, a fueling canopy, and affiliate site improvements. The parcel is located at 11530 Belleville Road at the southwest corner of Belleville Road and the South I-94 Service Drive intersection. Presentation first, Township staff, Ms. Williams.
We'll defer over to our planning consultant, Lauren Sayer.
Thank you. So the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing 1,200 square foot retail component of their gas station and construct and relocate to a different part of the site, a 3,400 square foot building. So previously, the Shell gas station had special land use, but since they are expanding that special land use, a new special land use approval will be required. So that is why they are having to get the special land use approval again. And so reviewing, again, the 9 standards for special land uses, we don't have any concerns about adverse impacts to neighbors or the appropriateness of the location for a gasoline filling station at this site. So pending final site plan approval and any comments from the Township Fire Marshal and Township Engineer, we would recommend, that Planning Commission recommend granting the special land use. In reviewing the site plan, there are use standards for gasoline filling stations in Section 5 of the zoning ordinance. So that's why you see additional setback requirements from the pump and the canopy, not just the building. These are all being met, although we do need the exact dimensions from the pump for the side yard and rear yard to be noted on the site plan. The width of the driveway or along the service drive needs to be provided and must be in compliance with the use standards in Section 5 that require a maximum of between 30 and 36 feet. Pedestrian access crossings at the driveway, since it's in the B-Rod district, need to be clearly marked with either accent paving or piano key paint. In terms of the parking, space is in the southeast corner, either need to be 20 feet or abut an 8-foot wide sodded area to accommodate for overhang. In terms of the parking requirement, the number of parking, they're compliant with the number of parking spaces, same with barrier-free and loading, and they're also proposing bicycle parking consistent with the requirements of the B-Rod. Regarding landscaping, the ornamental trees on the Belleville Road frontage and the service drive are deficient, both 1 tree. The B-Rod requires perennial beds planted in groups. So the frontage area needs to be defined so that we can ensure it's complying with that 20%. So it's unclear if that's being met or not. Same with the interior landscaping areas, which, can be met by, landscaping adjacent to said parking areas, not necessarily islands, but we need the vehicle use area so we can ensure that the 941 feet provided and identified on the landscape plan is consistent with that 5%. Additionally, the width of that area needs to be provided. The ground cover for the site and curbing details were also omitted from the landscape plan. And the open landscape requirement requiring 2 trees, we couldn't find any. So we did want to note that, details for which trees are counting for which requirement, they can't overlap, but that would be helpful. There might be some differences in what trees we were counting when we were calculating, but the numerical amount of trees is still deficient. And additionally, there were some trees identified on the landscape plan as existing, but the species of the tree was not provided, so we'd also like that needs to be provided. And there was an arrow for an existing cedar tree, but we couldn't find where that actual tree was located, just kind of an arrow pointing to that. So those are details we'd also require on the landscape plan. The trees removal, there was no notes on removal or replacement, so we require that to be provided to ensure that the trees are being appropriately replaced if required. We would defer to engineering for the stormwater. No lighting plan was submitted. We would anticipate that they would have new lighting on the wall at the very minimum. So a photometric plan that's compliant is required. Regarding the architecture and the B-Rod standards, they are proposing brick and masonry veneers with that 50% windows covering that. The canopy is going to be primarily white with a yellow stripe and a smaller red accent that's consistent with their brand standards, but this is just an accent. Pedestrian amenities, so they are proposing a bench or picnic table near the building, but we do require along the frontage, would request benches or, something to meet the B-Route standard for, to encourage active pedestrian use. No changes to the sign, and the dumpster is proposed to be enclosed with masonry, with wood on the front. So given all of those items, we do feel that there are enough items that have not demonstrated compliance at this point that we would recommend the applicant address these concerns and come back before the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kamer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As per usual, during preliminary site plan review from an engineering standard, we are just looking at feasibility of the new site or the adjustment to the site. As Ms. Sarah mentioned, there is an existing building on site that has current utilities and services connected to it. There is also an existing stormwater management system within the site as well. So I'm just going to touch on a few things. The water main, there's a bit of the current water main service actually comes from a split service that splits with the Burger King. And so we've had some conversations with the applicant during staff review about getting a new service across Belleville roads, that they have their own service line, which we will continue to work with the applicant as there is a new water main being installed on Belleville Road that they should be able to tap into once this project moves forward. In addition to that, and I believe the fire marshal had the same comment, there's currently no fire hydrant on site or within the proper radius or range of the site, which we have talked about that as well as bringing a hydrant from that new water main on Belleville Road as well. But definitely something that we would like to see prior to final site plan, but something that should be able to be handled once that new water main is installed on the east side of Belleville Road. Sanitary service, there is an existing sanitary service on site that currently feeds the existing building that the applicant is planning to utilize. There's a multiple service lines on site that they will need to abandon and make sure that they locate the existing service line. And as always, we recommend, the cleaning and, videoing of the existing service lines so that when they put in a new building, they know that their sanitary service is in good shape. Stormwater management, there is currently an existing detention pond on the backside of the site. We had recommended during some of our preliminary staff interactions that they clean and verify that that system is working properly. There currently is no forebay or kind of first flush system, so we had requested that the applicant add in a water quality unit, essentially that filters out all of that first flush, which they have on their site plan, which we would approve of. And in general, we just want to see that if they are increasing any impervious area, that their new stormwater management system is taking that into account. Ultimately, because of the size of the improvements, Wayne County approval will be required as part of their application or submittal to Wayne County. So the county will not only approve or look into review the stormwater management as well as the curb cuts or new driveway cuts along Belleville and the service drive. Other than that, from a feasibility standpoint, we believe that their plans and the location of the site show feasible engineering requirements, and that we would recommend the Planning Commission grant preliminary site plan approval based on the conditions and the other comments and recommendations we lay out in our letter dated August 3rd, 2026. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams.
I have the fire marshal letter dated August 6th, 2026. The specific comments, an emergency vehicle access plan showing vehicle movement around the entire development shall be submitted using the dimensions of the Van Buren Township Fire Department engine, which are listed in his letter. Says there is a truck template on sheet C1A that does not show the fire department engine's ability to navigate the site, but it does show a vehicle with similar turning radius. He would like the turning radius of the actual fire department engine to be shown on that sheet. Number 2, no part of any building or structure shall be more than 250 feet from a hydrant. So as Mr. Kamer was discussing, a fire hydrant is potentially scheduled to be added when the water main is upgraded on Belleville Road.
Okay, thank you. The applicant. Please come forward, introduce yourself.
Oldie Vittens, Vittens Engineering. Oldie Vittens, Vittens Engineering, representing the owner, Belleville Real Estate LLC.
I thought you told me to sit down. Okay, John Saad. I'm representing Hannah Engineering Consulting. Thank you.
Yeah, I just, appreciate all the comments from the consultants and the Planning Commission. A couple of items, as far as the photometric plan, that was delivered to the township. That was revision 3. We revised the drawings because we had received the photometric plan from the lighting consultant. And I've got a copy of that here, and these were hand-delivered to the township. So the lighting consultant does have a photometric plan.
Need to be submitted it wasn't submitted in time for them to review before the review letter. But yeah, we can just let them know that it was submitted after, so it can be part of the next review.
Yeah, it was on 7/24 when we were dropped off. In any case, the photometric plan is done. And then regarding the fire hydrant, there is a note on sheet C4, which is the utility plan, indicating that we're going to work with the township and coordinate with their project. And if, again, I don't know at what stage the plans are, but maybe we could have the hydrant extension into our site done as a non-participatory item, that our client, pays for that, but it's included with the bid for the township project, which would make sense. All the construction happens at the same time, but we haven't had that discussion with the township yet, and I don't know if they'll entertain that or not, but that's something we'd like to explore to see. I know the State Highway Department typically has non-participatory items when a township or city is, working with their projects. So, that's something we'd like to explore. I believe the rear yard and side yard are noted, but we'll clarify that as dimensions if they're not. The existing tree species, they are noted on the topographic survey. Maybe they weren't noted on the landscape plan. We'll clarify that and have it in both locations. And then, John, do you want to address the landscape items? I guess we can have benches along the frontage. And if we're missing any trees, we'll go, sit down with the consultant again and, make sure we show which trees are replacement and, vice versa, which are open space. And we'll get those issues clarified. I think John had, who did the landscape plan, I think he had counted some existing trees as counting, but, we may be short a couple of trees and we could definitely.
They're in good condition, but we'll do whatever the
Excuse me, Mr.
consultant
Chairman,
want us to do.
Just as a point
Yes.
of privilege, I want to point out, I can hear what the gentleman's saying when he's not speaking in the microphone, because he's close to me. I don't know if the members of our audience can hear him
Oh,
when he's not speaking in the microphone. So I just would like to ask the applicant to please remember to talk into the microphone. Thanks.
thank you.
I didn't
Sorry
want to
about-
interrupt you
sorry
while
about
you were
that.
talking, but
Do
you
you
do
wanna-
have to use it. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine.
Okay,
Those
so
are
I think there is a little bit misunderstanding in submitting the plan, and from the question about some of the comment from McKenna Group. Like there is no detail on the site, on the landscape plan for the curb. The curb is on a civil plan, and it's detailed and everything is there. So we need to meet to just make sure that we're gonna get this right, and that's all. And there is not too many things, as my colleague mentioned. I think we can meet the ordinance that McKenna is calling for, or your ordinance, their recommendation on all the, there is a quite bit of existing landscape and they're in good condition. I tried to put a bench on Belleville, but who wants to sit on Belleville in a 94? We can put a bench, but something like that, shouldn't hinder the owner to meet the deadline to start construction on April. And if we're gonna wait and wait and wait on something, to me, maybe my consideration to it is not that big deal, but to you, maybe big deal. We do whatever you ask us, but please, we need to start construction in April. So anything that McKenna wants, we can meet face-to-face, we can do Zoom meeting and make sure that we will do exactly what they want. Now, with respect to the pump, I know it's electrical code. It has to be certain distance away due to some electrical shortage, and the passenger on the sidewalk shouldn't be affected. But usually, I was a canopy distributor. Every pump is 10 feet away from the end of the canopy. But it's okay. We don't want to get into detail. Let's put that dimension on the plan. That's all. Okay, Aldi, put that dimension on the plan. So as you can see, we did quite an improvement on this side, whether the building, the landscape, the traffic circulation, the safety, everything. And what else you can recommend to enhance that site, we are open to do that. That's all what I can say right now. And I apologize. I assume that somebody will run our site plan here. I didn't bring my computer, but next time we know. All right. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, comments, questions? Floor is open.
Mr. Chairman, I'd have a question or comment for engineering. This is a full or almost entire site plan redesign, is my understanding, and you mentioned that there's some changes to the stormwater handling. I want to point out that in Planning Commission, we frequently are tasked not just with protecting the rights of the property owner, but also the neighbors, the existing neighbors, as well as the greater community as a whole. Without casting any blame or aspersions or anything, but I do want to point out that the neighbors have had a lot of flooding. The Burger King has been under 6 inches of water at different times this year. The post office has been flooded similarly, and those are the two neighbors. The gas station sits high and dry, doesn't have a drainage problem that I'm aware of. This is not, I'm not saying there's a drainage problem on the site, but I'm letting engineering know, please pay special attention to the stormwater handling at that site, because the neighboring properties do have frequent flooding issues in the last 12 months, maybe through no fault of the applicants whatsoever, but since we're doing the engineering review, I'd like just to make sure you know about it when you're reviewing the stormwater. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the insight.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, so I'll say for the other commissioners, since we're in open discussion, I agree with the consultant that a postponement of the preliminary site plan approval is probably in order. But I will also point out that I don't think that necessarily needs to slow down your development progress, because we also have the ability to do preliminary and site plan preliminary and final site plan simultaneously, should that be found to be an acceptable path by, generally how that works is you bring in everything, you think you got it 100%, and our consultants agree that, hey, it's very, very close, or every requirement has been met. What I'm trying to tell you is, I think postponement is the right thing to do at this time, but I don't think it should affect your development schedule, which the applicant has said is, they believe they're operating under a time crunch. That said, there is a list of missing information on the McKenna letter that has to be provided before the next review, including all the numbers, all the setbacks. I did see the photometric on the plan set that I had, which is why I was shuffling through it earlier in the meeting, because I thought I saw photometrics in there, and it was in there. So I know that's been provided. But I didn't see, and maybe I just missed it, but I also didn't see really the isometric views, the facade views. Were there facade views in the site plan?
Elevation?
Elevations, yes, thank you.
The elevations were on there was an architectural that also
Four
had-
sides?
I think
The front facade in there that showed where the materials were supposed to go.
was, I think it was all four. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just
do
want to
see all
make sure, I don't need to see it. I really don't. Yeah. Okay, four. Great. Great, thank you. I have a copy. I just needed to know that it was in there. And for our consultant to know it was in there and to verify that it was in there. Also, we need to see the elevation diagrams for the canopies, showing how high up the brick goes on the poles, since we have standards for that in the Belleville Road overlay. I'd also add to our consultant, as you're looking for the missing information, please keep in mind that this gas station is in the Belleville Road overlay district. This is not a, like one of our previous applicants where they're putting a new facade on an existing building. This is a whole new building. This one will comply with the Belleville Road overlay district. I don't want to hear about it's becoming more compliant. This one has to look like a Belleville Road overlay district building. So please, in the next revision, and to the applicant, when you're doing your revisions, please pay special attention to the Belleville Road overlay district, because little things like benches in front of the building might not seem like a big deal to you, but it is a big deal to our community. And it is the standard that we have throughout the whole road. And it makes a difference. And I'm very happy that the Shell gas station has been an anchor of our Belleville Road area. That gas station's been there, I won't say forever, but it's been there a long time. I was wondering, Mr. Chairman, does the applicant know how many times the building's been replaced?
You could see it now, it's I'm sorry.
Three times. I bring it up because I know at least one of them. I was on the school bus going to high school one morning, and the Shell station was there. And later that day, it wasn't there anymore. And 2 days later, a building was dropped in place. And I thought, wow, that was really neat to see that happen. Yeah, that would be, I don't want to date myself, but that's probably when that was. But that's probably when that was. So yeah, I'm very happy to see that the Shell gas station's getting refreshed. I want to make sure that it's refreshed according to the Belleville Road overlay standards. And just, we do think it's a big deal. Little things like benches or the public art requirement, all of those things need to be paid attention to on that corner. we are proud to have that Shell gas station be at that location, and we want it to look as good as you want it to look. So I think if
I
it
think
seems like you're doing, if it seems like the applicant has to do a lot more, little attention to detail, please just know it's worth it. We think
Sorry
it is.
if I may, with respect to the building, we did pay attention to the detail. We discussed it with Makana and they approved them.
Super.
I don't think you're looking at the plan that is submitted. I'm sorry to say that. With respect to the canopy elevation, it's right there on the elevation with the distance from the canopy to the ground, the allowable height for any truck or any car, and the architectural look of the column on the canopy where it was suggested by your consultant, and we did the same thing as they suggested.
Super.
So I'm not saying, but thank you for telling us that you want that place to be the most beautiful gas station, and we want to make it so, please. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
But there is a
I
lot
do
of-
appreciate the applicant's
There's a lot of
comments.
there's a
And
lot
I
of
agree
information.
that
on
there is
there.
probably some miscommunication if the plans didn't come in time for the review letter. That's, that's why we have to have them in time, so that we can all be reviewing exactly the same thing. Also, since you got them in, I believe the information's in there. You say it's in there, I believe it's in there. We'll get a chance to review it and hopefully be able to move forward with it. That's the only real comments I have on it, except that, thank you to engineering for recommending approval. I would like from our consultant, explain to me again why we need the special land use when they already have it? I missed that. I missed the logic there, or the explanation, I'm sorry.
Sure. So if a property owner or business, if they're expanding or enlarging their special land use, it requires special land use to be like reobtained per ordinance.
Sure. It's a larger footprint building, is that what we mean by expanding their land use?
So I think, well, the intent is that, the special land use was granted with this, with the understanding of, maybe it's a 1,400 square foot building, that's our understanding. Now we're tripling it, we want to make sure that it's still not going to adversely impact neighboring properties or still be appropriate as an expanded use.
Got it, I understand. Thanks for the explanation, I appreciate that. The only other thing that I saw on the demolition plan is that I believe there's a tripod sign on the site, tall sign. I don't need the comments on it now, but at the next review, I want to know that the sign is also compliant with, the ordinances.
My understanding is they received a variance for that sign and so are not planning to touch it at all.
Documentation of the variance
Okay.
is what we'll need to be able to grant further approvals. Without it, we can't move forward. We want to get all the little things out of the way so that next time
Absolutely.
you guys come in, the next time the applicant comes in, they can go quickly.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Question for potentially our consultant, potentially staff. I would just appreciate just a little bit of clarification, possibly even for the public, just how this fits into our new fueling ordinance that we drafted or wrote 18 months, 2 years ago, somewhere in that time frame. My understanding is essentially because this is in the same footprint, it does not change compliance with that ordinance. Is that correct?
Correct. So it is an existing facility on an existing site. So the new ordinance would not apply to that because it is existing. So if it were for some reason to go away and 2 years later, somebody takes it over and puts a new gas station in, that would be applicable to the new ordinance standards.
Okay, perfect. Because it's the same use, the
Same owner, same use. It hasn't stopped at all.
Yeah, we put in, if you remember, I know you're bringing it up so that everybody understands it. We did put in clauses so that existing fueling stations could modernize. This is what this is, taking advantage of it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would agree with you on postponing, but with the caveat that yes, we can still move through the process and do. I guess maybe another question, because we've never done this before. Is this something that we would do special land use potentially today, or would we do special land use preliminary and final altogether at a future time?
No, I believe we can do the special land use right now,
Yes.
then,
I'm fine
because
either way,
they're
just-
two separate actions.
We don't have to do anything.
Right.
We can do it all at once, but the special land use, as I was reminded, has to go through a recommendation to the township board. And which means that it gives them a chance to do the special land use so that these guys aren't held up by another round of meetings. So I'm okay with granting the special land use, having had Ms. Sayers' explanation. I think the special land use seems reasonable. I mean, it's a gas station already. I don't think the remodel is going to have an effect on anything around it. Just make the corner look nicer. So I'd be all in favor of granting the special land use, if you are.
Yeah, I would as well.
Okay.
Anybody else? Comments? Yes, Mr. Kamer.
Through the chair, just to answer the engineer's question regarding the Belleville water main, that job has been bid out and is being built, so it's already gone through permitting and everything, so it would likely be on you to, we would provide the either as-built or design, and then be on the applicant to bring that water main across the road to meet the requirements of the fire marshal and the township for the hydrant.
If I could just get a copy of those drawings, so then I can put it on and show a hydrant extension across the road.
Yep, absolutely.
And match the materials. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, anyone from the public with a comment? Anyone from the public with a comment? Anyone from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I see none.
I see none as well. So I will entertain if there's action you want to take concerning the special land use. Again, this is a twofold. We look at the special land use first, then preliminary site plan. We present them both, takes less time. And on top of that, then we handle them individually. So do we have any action concerning the special land use?
One of my peers would like a chance to make the special land use motion. I'd be happy to relieve the floor.
I'm happy to try. Here we go. Through the chair,
Yes.
I move to grant, or to recommend to the township board, to the applicant, Belleville Real Estate LLC, special land use, to demolish and rebuild existing gasoline filling station. The gasoline filling station consists of approximately 3,400 square foot retail building, a fueling canopy, and affiliated site improvements. The parcel is located at 11530 Belleville Road at the southwest corner of the Belleville Road and South I-94 Service Drive intersection. Based on the recommendation from the McKenna letter dated July 28th, 2026, and comments made during discussion.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Creel, supported by Commissioner Paul. Any discussion concerning the motion? With that, roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote begin. Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Creel? Yes. Jackson Paul?
Yes.
Ryan Cullen?
Yes.
Roll call vote complete.
Okay, so the motion carries. We are recommending to the board for your special land use. Now moving ahead for the preliminary site plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jur.
this time I would move to postpone the preliminary site plan approval to construct, to demolish and construct the rebuilding of an existing gasoline filling station located upon the same site as the previous motion, based on the recommendations of the McKenna August 4th letter, the Fishback August 3rd letter, the Van Buren Township Fire letter of August 6th, and noting feedback to the applicant regarding elevations, placement of BROD required items, and also noting that the applicant is requested to bring material samples in for the next preliminary site plan review. Also noting that the applicant may be able to bring back a preliminary and final site plan simultaneous review should that seem reasonable to our consultant and to the applicant.
Supported.
We have a motion to postpone from Commissioner Jar, supported by Commissioner Creel. Any discussion on the motion?
The only discussion I would just encourage staff and consultants to work as hard as we can to bring back both preliminary and final site plan approval so we don't delay. But I think it was already stated, so thank you.
I think that would be in everyone's best interest to speed it along.
With that in mind, roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote begin. Peter Creel?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Jeff Jar? Yes. Brian Cullen?
Yes.
Complete.
Okay, we're postponing it. You've heard our discussion and what, we want you to get back and we want it to get underway, so,
Thanks for your help and your comments.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead, item number 3 tonight. Case 24-031, Costco Depot, West Addition, final site plan amendment. A request by the applicant Dan Free on behalf of owner Costco Wholesale Incorporated is seeking approval of a site plan amendment to construct a 390 square foot remote restroom facility for the truck drivers. The site is located at 5860 Belleville Road. Presentation from staff. Did I lose Ms. Williams?
Williams just stepped out with the previous applicant for just a moment, I believe.
Okay. With that, I believe I can move forward. From McKenna, Planner Sayre. Move ahead, Ms. Sayre. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a request to amend their previously approved final site plan for the Costco wholesale warehouse facility. And they are proposing to construct a 390 square foot restroom on the north side of the building to serve truck drivers as they're waiting in sort of that bullpen area. So overall, a fairly small change to their plan. The area in which they're proposing this facility did have quite a bit of landscaping in there, so on page 3, there is a table with a comparison of the landscaping provided. Their landscape calculations for the overall site did not change, so we would defer to the applicant if the changes that they're proposing impact the required landscaping, or if it was just, additional and excess landscaping that now they're changing. But regardless, Planning Commission should decide if these changes are acceptable from the final site plan. Essentially, removing, so 17 less shrubs, 24 more evergreens, and 4 more perennials. So long as the deficiency or landscaping, as long as there's no landscaping deficiencies in the required landscaping, and Planning Commission is satisfied with that landscaping change, we would recommend granting the site plan amendment for the, I believe it's, incorrect in the final. They submitted a 330 originally, and then it's 390 for, I think they added like a janitor closet onto it, so it's actually 390 square foot restroom addition. But regardless, we'd recommend granting that site plan amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kamer.
No comments from engineering. We reviewed and there's no engineering applicant here.
I have a letter from the Van Buren Township Fire Department. Site plan review was performed for the construction of a remote restroom at 5860 Belleville Road, Van Buren Township, Michigan, 48111. The plans are approved based on the following. Per the letter from V3 Companies Limited, dated June 25th, 2026, there are no obstructions to the fire hydrants. Bollards are shown between the curb and the fire hydrant for protection. And fire department access is not compromised by the construction of the restroom. Okay, with that, we now have planning commission discussion. Excuse me, I'm sorry, the applicant. We brought you here, yes.
Might as well say something. My name is Dan Free with V3 Companies, the civil engineer for Costco, and here to represent Costco for this restroom addition. As explained by McKenna, this is for the truck drivers who may be stuck in the bullpen waiting area for sometimes several hours. There is a bathroom out within the office building of the main depot, but that's accessible outside of like the interior office. However, you know, truck drivers would have to walk through the parking lot quite a distance. So this is to add a convenience for those truck drivers who are stuck there for longer periods of time. And yeah, there was a recent change for adding a janitor's closet to help with cleaning up, so. I think the comment on the landscape, I think I'll have to double check, but I believe we had, in order to meet some of the other requirements, we had placed landscaping in that area where the restroom was. And so adding the restroom, we had to kind of move things around. And so I'll double check that. But I believe that for when we submit for permit, we'll make sure that those numbers align.
Commissioners?
I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
To be, I mean, I hate to simplify it, but
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. It's put in a spot that's not gonna interfere with any existing fire code, and I think it just makes sense to have the restroom out there. And I'm glad that you're relocating the landscape, so that's good.
I'm sure the drivers will appreciate it as well.
Yes, yes. Okay, with that, anything else? Anybody, anything else? Okay, with that, anyone from the public have a comment? Anyone from the public? Seeing none? Commissioners, what's your desire concerning this item?
Mr. Chair, move to grant the applicant, Dan Free, on behalf of owner Costco Wholesale Inc., approval for a site plan amendment to construct a 390 square foot remote restroom facility for truck drivers. The site being located at 5860 Belleville Road, based on the analysis and subject to the conditions in McKenna letter, June 30, Fishbeck letter, July 14th, and Fire Marshal's letter of, help me out, July 14th, with no other feedback or concerns.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Jar, supported by
Dealer's choice.
Commissioner Creel. Any discussion concerning the motion? Seeing none, we will entertain a roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote begin. Jackson Paul?
Yes.
Peter Creel?
Yes.
Brian Cullen?
Yes,
Vote complete.
you have your approval. Build your restroom. Okay, moving ahead, we are now on item number 4 for this evening. Case 2023-073, Symmetry Management Incorporated, preliminary site plan approval extension. A request by applicant and owner Frank Jarbo to extend preliminary site plan approval to construct a new gas station with a 8,251 square foot building containing a convenience store and drive-through restaurant. The site is located on 2.25 acres of property split from 7 parcels with a total area of 4.46 acres on the north side of Ecorse Road, west of Haggerty. Presentation from the applicant.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Before the applicant does
Oh,
presentation,
I
I apologize.
apologize.
I did have one item I want.
Mrs. Williams.
Thank you. Per section 12.207 of our zoning ordinance, labeled expiration, there is a clause at the bottom that says, "The planning commission may, at its discretion, upon application by the owner and for cause shown, provide up to 2 successive 12-month extensions." I would like to note this is the second extension, so this would be the final extension allowed on this site plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, presentation from the applicant.
Thank you for the clarification. My name is John Friel from Symmetry Management, 4327 Delamere Court, Royal Oak, Michigan. We are now asking for our final extension of this, 12 months extension. The original site plan was approved dated October 9, 2024, and the extension, I was here September 11th, 2025 for the 1-year extension. And the reason for the extension again this year is to, again, finalize the Eagle wetland process. A lot has happened over the last 11 months now with Eagle, and in your packet, we did include the Eagle letter that we got in May 22nd that said our project is now approvable. Since May, we're going through now the financial piece of that. We can't do anything until we clear that hurdle, and we are at the goal line for that as well. We do expect that to be wrapped up within the next 30 days, and then we can, with that, kick off our working drawings and then submit for our building permit, hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, comments?
I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'm wondering, did you ever expect getting your wetland permit would take that long?
It is the state of Michigan, it is Eagle, so yes. We all know it's a long, egregious process, and we're happy to be here, trying to extend so that we can get this done.
I just have just a curiosity question for staff from me. So a lot of different dates, right? So we did the preliminary site plan approval was October 9th, 2024. We granted an extension on September 11th, 2025, which I'm assuming took effect from the 9th of October. And then,
It takes,
well, and then if we grant another extension today, is it from, what dates is it from? So the applicant's clear, because this is final, I don't want any ambiguity, whatever the term is. You know what I'm talking about,
A
confusion.
month, right, I'm here a month early.
Confusion. I don't want any confusion. Is it a year from today that it's done, or is it a year from when the previous one was granted?
Mr. Creel, I'm happy to let staff answer, but I believe it's from the date that we approve
The
the
extension?
extension, so I think it's this meeting, so it would
that's
be
what
today.
I
Yeah.
had a feeling it was as well,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jar, so I just wanted to.
Staff, and if I'm mistaken about that, staff will let us know, I'm sure. But I think that this is when they want it done, like today. We can't grant it in the future. It's the date of.
It says the date of such approval.
So just to clarify that you're a year from today.
Which is to say, not a year from September 11th, which is coming up next
Or-
month.
or October 9th.
Or October 9th. which
Right,
is
that's what I
coming
just
up.
wanted to,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be
It's
clear on
from,
that.
it's
so.
12 months from today.
We did that because knowing what your agenda schedule was, if we would have lapsed if we were on the next agenda.
We have some fun ones coming up, yep.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lapse, so
Okay.
I'll take the 11-month and we'll move on from here.
Commented, I think this is another pretty straightforward, easy one, so.
Agreed.
Agreed. Any other comments?
On a random note, I did learn from the Eagle Review that we have rattlesnakes native to Michigan.
Oh,
We
you
do.
didn't know that? Masaga,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yes. I didn't know we had them in this area, though. I
It
knew
might-
they were in the western part of the state. but- Anything else? Then is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment concerning this? Anyone from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I'll point out there is still some members of the public in our meeting this evening, but I don't see their
In
hands up.
moving, nope. Okay, then, before I open it to the planning commission, I do want to make a comment that, as you people have heard, Mr. Jarbo applied back in 2023 for this. And at that time, we did not have an ordinance for our service stations that are in place today. That is why we are able to carry this forward under its situation. So with that, commissioners, what's your thoughts and feels?
In the chair, unless my colleague, Commissioner, go ahead.
Through the chair. I move to approve the applicant, Symmetry Management, Inc., their request for preliminary site plan approval extension, noting that it is 1 year from today's date and not October 9th or September 11th.
Support, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Motion by Commissioner Paul, supported by Commissioner Jar. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none? Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote begin. Paul?
Yes.
Jar?
Yes.
Creel?
Yes.
Cullen?
Yes,
Roll call vote complete.
you have your extension. Thank you very much. You've got 12 months. Okay, moving ahead. Item number 5. Child Care Institution Ordinance Amendment Memo. Discussion number 3. We are to discuss proposed Child Care Institution Ordinance Amendment. Presentation from the township staff. Ms. Edward Williams.
Thank you. I will turn it over to our planning consultant, Lauren Sayer.
Thank you. So this is the third discussion Planning Commission's having, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to provide comments via email. I think a theme was that, you know, it was very confusing on what different childcare, you know, licenses or businesses, operations, you know, what's the difference between them and what they kind of cover. So hopefully the definitions provided do help clarify, you know, exactly kind of what each child caring organization is. Also included are notes on the change, either from the existing or from the previous definitions. These were, it started with the definition from the, you know, Child Caring Organizations Act, but, you know, Michigan case law is not the easiest to read or the most fun, so it's kind of tried to simplify it down to the important pieces of what defines the various childcare. The organization, so Laura, it's actually, it's also, if you can imagine, a licensing mess between them, where some of them are licensed by a new department called MyLeap, which is Michigan Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential. And some of them are like the Child Caring Institution and Foster Care. They are licensed by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So that was changed from Laura. That was one of the larger changes. Certain duration elements. So I know there were comments from Commissioner Paul about temporary placement. So the state defines the duration as have the 4 or more days a week for 2 consecutive weeks. So I believe that would cover any, temporary kind of situations. I know there were also concerns about churches and being camps, and I went down quite the rabbit hole on camps. So I did not know that. So a licensed camp, there is one that's troops, and it has to be sponsored by Scouting America or the Girl Scouts of the USA. But camps are 5 or more days within 14 days and have to be in a natural setting. That's kind of the biggest thing. And then there's also other kind of duration requirements for day camps and residential and travel and troops. So I know there were comments about, preempting churches or schools. We can't preempt in our zoning ordinance a state licensing requirement. My understanding is that these churches or schools are, if they're running a camp, it's probably either licensed somehow or they are operating outside of the time criteria that would require a license. So we also currently in the definitions, it's organized as daycare facilities, and I think that was another point of maybe confusion around these is the state defines them as just childcare centers, family childcare homes, not daycare. Our ordinance does refer to them also as daycare, and maybe that's getting them confused as 2 different things, but it's not in actuality 2 different things. So we're proposing a new organization of childcare facilities and nesting those definitions as follows, with camps sort of breaking it out one level further. I think it was a kind of hard having the permitted use table up in one section and the standards in another, so we kind of broke that up, but then it's on the bottom, or it's at the very end as well, just to kind of give an overview. But the first one I wanted to talk about is group childcare homes. And group childcare homes are something that's already considered, it's not a new use, it's something that is permitted by special land use in our zoning ordinance. And so on page 6, the proposed language, bear with me here, is, I understand there's concerns about wanting to get ahead of any neighbor complaints, and so the public hearing, providing that forum, both for the applicant and neighbors. And I know I was pushing back that, the special land use is creating more of a barrier for these applicants for this, home-based sort of business and making them go to more meetings. So the proposal is requiring special land use, but having planning commission having the discretion over the final approval, which it's a little atypical. There's no other use that we've, or, this isn't something we've done. However, we feel that, so the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act requires townships to approve the special land use if the conditions in the MZEA are met, and this is functionally mirrored in Van Buren's ordinance. So this does remove that discretionary pressure from Planning Commission. That is another reason why Planning Commission likes to recommend to the board rather than being that authority. And it still shortens the process for applicants removing that additional barrier. So that's the first section, Section A. what that is addressing. And then I know this was added in fairly recently, but the provision at the end of the Planning Commission's ability to modify, saying that Planning Commission can require additional measures, it doesn't inherently, violate the MZEA, but it does kind of open the door for, accidentally maybe requiring something more stringent than the MZEA. So those are sort of the only changes on that item. I apologize.
Through the chair,
Yes.
can we make comments now, or should we wait? I just have a correction on one of the, just a verbiage. So you were talking about 5.112, group childcare, home care, under C, we still refer to it as group daycare homes.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure we're consistent. And I'm sorry for not doing that earlier and providing my feedback.
No worries. I know it's a lot to chew off as going through it. Mr. Chair, do you want to talk about them as each kind of use comes up, or would you like to save the discussion for the entirety at the end?
That's entirely, if you would be willing, because in the questions as they come up can be directed
Yeah.
to you at that
Yes.
point, instead of us trying to remember them at the end. Some
Yeah,
of us
I
are
think that-
older and our memories don't always hold true.
Yeah, I guess, so with that being said, any kind of,
When was the last time that happened? I don't
I
remember.
can't remember.
What time is it?
Yeah.
If it's all right, I think it'd be better if we did it just by section.
I'd say
If that's all right.
if they're short, let's do it. Otherwise, we could do it again where we email the longer comments in.
what are your thoughts on the special land use being delegated to Planning Commission just for group childcare homes?
My hot take is no, that's a little too weird in that would be the only thing in all of our planning commission and zoning ordinance where we were allowed to do a special land use without it being a recommendation to the township board. What we found recently and in the past is that when we make special cases or we do things slightly differently than what, the board would have us do, or, yeah, I don't know, it seems like a special case that doesn't come up often enough for us to all be aware of it and to remember it and to apply it consistently. If this was part of the ordinance that we saw, like, if it was part of preliminary site plan approval or something that we are likely to see in every other meeting, then I'd say, yeah, we'd get used to it. But when it's a single one-off we just don't really see that many child or daycare applications come through. It feels like we'd miss it or forget about it or misuse it or use it inconsistently, and that's my hot take on it. It just seems like maybe not.
How long does it take to get on the agenda of the township board? In other words, those special land uses we granted tonight, when are they going to appear on the township board meeting?
One of them will be there next Tuesday because we were trying to help the project move along very quickly. The other one, I went and talked to the gentleman. I have to check availability. I'm going to attempt to move to the September 1st meeting if there's availability. If not, it will be on the, I believe it's the September 15th.
So,
So
I think.
within a month.
Yeah, it's usually within a
Yeah.
month, right? It
Yes.
may not be 1 week or 2 weeks, but it's certainly within about a month of it being granted.
Yes.
I think that's been historically, that's my,
Yeah.
that's my recollection.
Yes.
So
Haven't-
I like the idea of it staying, what's 30 days at the most, or 31 days,
Yeah. I'm just concerned that.
of sending it to them.
Granting us that one use case where there is one condition in which we can grant a special use case. I don't know, just, it doesn't feel right to me. It feels like we get it wrong. That's just how it feels like to me.
Yeah, I would add or concur essentially that if we were to go about the special land use, I would probably feel more comfortable with, keeping it at that two-step approval where we recommend it up to the board. But yeah, I'm open to however we want to go go from there. That would just be my 2 cents on the special land use component.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird in the MZEA as well, as it's one of the only things that it kind of says you have to approve as a special if it's being met. So that's true for the township board as well, that they would have to. But the only other change was that kind of strike through on the modification, just to ensure that things don't accidentally, because it's, I guess, to your point, Mr. Jar, sometimes it is hard to remember exactly intent of things and like don't want it to slip through the cracks and, you know, say, well, now you have to buffer it greater than this, and now it's in excess of the MZA, but are we good with that removal?
You know,
Yes.
as per striking that section C1, those last 2 lines, I mean, the concern is that we might have a potential conflict with the MZEA provision, right? Instead of striking the line, maybe you want to add something to the end of it that says, keeping in mind that we may not be more restrictive than the governing ordinance at the state level, or the MZEA, 1973. Because if the minimum separation distance between the homes is modified, it's good for the planning commission to require additional measures to mitigate the adverse impacts. But, as always, it's sort of implicit that we can't, we're bound by law, right? We work under a system of ordinances, and we know we have to keep within the MZEA, the Zoning and Enabling Act. We can't demand somebody build a rocket ship because we want them to mitigate an adverse effect due to a setback. There are limits on what we can ask for, and I think that's implicit through all of what we do. But if you feel strongly that, hey, by the way, the Zoning Act makes a specific, some specific requirements on what you can do, just remember future plan. And we're thinking we're writing this for future staff, future planning commissioners, right? It's not writing it for me, it's writing it for somebody 20 years from now. But a footnote that says, you can modify it, but keep it within the lines, keep it within the MZA lines, wouldn't be a stray.
I think I was struggling to think of what condition that, what condition would even be imposed that would be both, not violating the ordinance that Van Buren's adopted, which is again mirrors largely the MZEA, but still is, an additional measure. And I was kind of coming up with not much or nothing I could think of.
Not much, and I can't really think of what it would be, except for we may have other screening requirements that we may, if you end up putting them closer together, there might be other, I don't know, I can't even think of it. I think I remember putting this in here with the team the last time we reviewed. I'm looking around for anybody who would remember, and I'm the only one here. We need Sherry and Medina. We really need Sherry and Medina, because they'd remember what we put this in there for.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember it being, there are things that we may want to talk about or mitigate, or we want to make sure that we don't completely, we can modify it, but we're allowed to say, okay, but, as long as it's within the guardrails of what the Zoning Enabling Act allows us to do. I don't remember specific examples, though.
Was it car stacking for pickup time? It's
Yeah, there may have
mentioned.
been requirements. That might have been one of them, Commissioner.
Bit
Yeah,
above
that
it.
might have been one of them, that one of the mitigating things that we may do is to say, you have to stagger out your pickup times for the kids. You can't have them all come in and leave at exactly the same time, or, and there are other things that you can't propose it to the applicant, but if the applicant were to propose their own condition, we might think, oh, well, that would be okay, as long as you're willing to do it. I remember that part of the discussion, I just don't remember the details of it. And like I said, I think if we had the full house here tonight, I think Medina, or I think Commissioner Atchison or Treasurer Bud would probably remember it in better detail than I do.
Okay, yeah. We can also try to, it wasn't so long ago, I can try to look into the previous discussion.
It may have been
memos on-
captured in the meeting minutes. yeah, or in other drafts.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, moving on to childcare centers, in terms of the permitted use table, I guess permitted use table, sorry, backtracking to the group childcare home, and the only change is adding as a special land use in the RMH district. Childcare center, no change to the proposed permitted use, where, I guess, where it's permitted, permitted uses districts. Some strike-throughs on emergency care and operation care, as that's covered in licensing, and a strike-through about located entirely within the principal building exclusive of outdoor recreation areas, as from a comment received from a commissioner regarding wanting, I guess, now that I'm looking through this, we probably would still want to clarify its own distinct building to ensure that, you know, childcare can still operate within a church or an existing kind of.
Sorry, if I could just also interject a point, you know, sometimes, I understand the hours of operation are actually determined by the licensing, but sometimes in our ordinances, we call things out, not because it is different from the licensing, but so that when you read our ordinance, you go, oh yeah, I guess that is allowed to run 24 hours a day. And you don't have to remember, oh, I should go check the licensing requirements to see if this is allowed, you know what I mean? So when someone comes in and is reviewing this and they say, what do you mean that's gonna run 24 hours a day? People say, well, yeah, well, how can that happen? Well, the licensing says, but they don't have the licensing, you know, you're just looking at the ordinance doc. But if you call it out that says, by the way, that means 24 hours a day, or whatever the licensing limits it to, it speeds up the review for people because they don't have to go consult the licensing doc to see, you know, to actually look what the licensing allows. The ordinance is, it's called out in the ordinance so that you can say, oh, really, it's actually up to 24 hours a day? Oh, well, okay, they say it's, you know, then it answers the question during the review without having to be a licensing expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I guess, change the, you know, requirement in the licensing, whether it's there or not. It's just sort of a.
Well, I'm talking about hours of operation slash care. So
Sure.
sometimes, like point C, obviously, our ordinance doesn't supersede the licensing for the state of Michigan. It can't. I mean, it can't. The state law supersedes what we're doing, right? But having it called out in our ordinance to say, this is a point of clarification, hours of operation may be up to 24 hours a day with not more than 12 hours of continuous care at any time for any child. That might exactly mimic what's in the licensing document, the state of Michigan licensing, but it's called out in our ordinance simply so that that commonly asked question is answered in our ordinance. You know what I mean? So striking those, yeah, I get that they probably mimic the licensing requirements, and we don't need them in there because point A says you will be in accordance with all applicable state laws. But points B and C are there to answer proactively or ahead of the time, by the way, this means 24 hours. That's what the license says. That's one of the reasons why sometimes these points are in these ordinances, even though it looks like they're already covered by something else. It's there to help people interpret it. That's my feedback. I don't know, if we want to strike it, go ahead and strike it, but that's, you know.
I mean, it becomes a kind of a, and this is at your discretion, it becomes sort of where do you draw the line of what you want to provide from the licensing in the ordinance. So.
Well, I will say that when you come up with a child care center in review, one of the things that everyone will already ask, now wait a minute, is this really going to be 24 hours a day? Can you do that? Just having it right there in section 5109 means no one has to go figure out what the current set of LARA license, or even what the name of the licensing body is today. What is it, MyLeap? That means you don't have to go consult MyLeap because our own ordinance says, and we think that means 24 hours a day, but of course you're subject to the licensing of the state. It helps preempt questions. You know what I mean? I guess that's, you know what?
I understand.
Yeah, okay.
It allows from the standpoint, somebody picks up our ordinance and they'll be able to say, oh, it is able to work 24 hours a day.
Right.
Versus, well, it doesn't say anything in the ordinance about it.
Yeah, instead of having to cross-reference with state law and licensing
Yeah.
requirements, yeah.
So if somebody's, I guess if somebody's doing research and looking for opposition to it, you've nullified it right here. You're not referring them to a state,
Different standards body.
right.
So as long as we're not doing anything that's conflicting with the licensing, as long as we're simply restating it, you know, that, I just wanted to call out, just because it's redundant doesn't mean it should necessarily be stricken.
Stricken.
If it's incorrect, that's a different story. If it's redundant, well, that might be for a purpose.
I'll have to double check on the 12 consecutive
Yeah.
hours
Too.
if that's, you know, more restrictive than the licensing, or if it just requires that it's not continuous 24. Is the same sentiment felt with the emergency care and requiring a staff person to be CPR trained being included?
That would be, that's what I'm bringing up. I don't know if that's part of the licensing or not, but when I read it and see, okay, well, there's this emergency care clause, and you can't, you know, you have to abide by this clause. If someone were to come back, an applicant were to come back and say, yeah, but your clause is wrong, the licensing says I get to do that. So the licensing, the state law supersedes your ordinance always. So thanks for point B, but I'm gonna follow point A. I'm gonna keep my license. That's why I said if it is accurate, keep it. or at least it's there to help answer immediate questions. If it's, or to reiterate or to call out or underline important parts of the licensing. If it's wrong, we gotta ditch it. We should ditch it.
It's just it's a little bit different than the other standards in that they are addressing, you know, more either land use or building type things, where this is more of a staffing thing. You don't see in restaurants, you know, they have to be food safe certified staff, something like that.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say.
I get
So
it.
We don't, for restaurants or for gas stations, and we don't dictate your employees have to be trained to know where the emergency shut-off for the gas pump is, right? I mean, we don't state that in our ordinance. I agree with it.
I agree with it, but.
I mean, I agree with both of them, but, you know, my only question would be, what's the upkeep for staff? If there's, who's gonna monitor the changes of the licensing law for childcare centers? That, to make sure if they change it, we've updated our ordinance. If we state fact, or we just say, put in here,
Point.
you know,
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's my, if
Absolutely.
we get specific in our ordinance, somebody from the township's gonna have to monitor, whether it be Laura, whether it be my LEAP, right? To make sure that we're staying up with it, and I don't, I mean,
Yeah, and if it's not accurate, get rid of it. If it doesn't seem like it's right, feel free to get rid of it.
mean, that's my-
Just understand my concern is that sometimes those points go into these documents because it's a question that you end up rat holing on every time.
no, for the next one in D, you know, if it's about where it's placed in the location, I can see that still staying as an example. Unless we don't want that there. But we could debate this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's another point of our discussion here. So maybe we ought to let Ms. Sayer go through the rest of the changes and call out the important things that she really wants our feedback on, so that we know what to concentrate on for the next round. Because otherwise we'll be here all night doing edits.
The outdoor recreation, this strike through kind of where those dots are pointing, it is a kind of a broader discussion. My kind of inside joke to myself was the policy direction discussion, because the whole thing is policy direction discussion. But is having a commercial childcare center in a neighborhood something that, you know, the township is interested in doing versus having them more in commercial settings? So if the direction is yes, we think these are fine in neighborhoods, that's good, then, you know, you'd strike those out. If not, maybe those would be still added and just tweaked a little bit, because I know we discussed the frontage and not requiring it to be necessarily on a primary or secondary road. It's not an all or nothing thing either, just to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a neighborhood, in my opinion, I think in a neighborhood, it wouldn't be a childcare center, it would be, what's the word? The group childcare home, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the next level down, right? The family childcare is up to 6 kids. The group childcare home was up to 12 kids. In the childcare center, there's no restriction on number, right? So, I don't really like the idea of childcare centers in a residential development.
Childcare, is that like a daycare center?
Yeah.
We've got them in
Well-
residential settings right now.
So
We've
we have
got,
a,
Did the definition change?
Daycares?
we don't, that was
No,
up
these
to
are, these are
12,
different. Sorry.
But that's up to 12 kids.
right.
So the definition is,
About a commercial childcare.
no, the childcare center.
Childcare center, yes. So the example image, it was once a home, but now is a commercial childcare center in a neighborhood.
Yeah, and the childcare centers that we have now, the one that I know of is the Belleville Childcare Center up on the South Service Drive and just west of Haggerty. And that, could you argue that that's in a neighborhood? Kind, I
homes
mean,
back
there's
behind
homes
there.
behind it, but it's on a main frontage, and I think it meets all the requirements that we struck out there, but,
I think that,
Oh, we expanded. There's one in the,
yeah, what's the sub? Because I was here for that one.
the one off of Savage Road,
Oh, yeah. What is that?
sits there, Haggerty.
You know what it is? It's 10 minutes to 8.
Country Walk?
Yes,
That's the
Country
problem. It's
Walk.
Country Walk. It's Country
Yes.
Walk,
Country Walk, we got the one in there that's got, we approved for 24, or 12, up to 12.
oh, yeah,
which
there's a couple that are up to 12. There's another one in the neighborhood behind us.
I was gonna say,
Um,
over in, off Ayers, across from where the old Quirk School used to be. Back in that neighborhood, we approved,
There's several of them that don't have to come in because they're under a certain amount of children, but those are spread out throughout the township as well.
When we're talking about different things too, we're, this isn't, the childcare center is not in-home. I wish there was an easy way to diagram it. I tried to, and then it just becomes actually more tangled.
Can I take a shot at it?
Please.
Okay. You live in a neighborhood, your neighbor moves out of their home. Daycare center purchases the home, puts a daycare center there. It is only a daycare center. It's no longer a residential home, but it's in a residential neighborhood. That's,
And it's not 24-hour care, it's daycare.
it's,
Yes, childcare center, so it's just,
Childcare
yeah,
center.
not 24-hour childcare, commercial childcare.
so,
No, I get where you're going. You're saying that, okay, in a residential sub, somebody moves out, commercial childcare center buys the building. In my mind, I define it that no one resides there. There's no permanent residence there.
Correct. Yeah,
It's a
that would be a
business.
commercial. Yes, the commercial.
Residential anymore.
They are permitted right now in residential districts as special land uses. The thing that probably prohibits them from going into a neighborhood subdivision is likely the setback requirements, the green belt requirements,
Agreed.
the frontage.
Yeah.
The attractive nuisance of having a building that is known to be empty after the hour of 7 PM.
Well, but a childcare center, we're saying, can operate for periods less than 24 hours. No,
But I mean, that would be a reason why you might not want one of those businesses to operate in your neighborhood. You know it only has certain hours. Everybody knows that there's nobody in that building starting at 7 PM at night or 8 PM at night. You know, maybe the neighbors don't, you know, just as a special land use, it's something to consider, right? You've got a building that is known to be unoccupied during a certain time period of the day. That could be problematic for a residential area.
So I guess the question, what I'm getting out of this then is the question, whether it's a commercial base that's owned by somebody that is not going to reside there versus somebody that has a home there and is looking to, is there a way we can define and make sure that that separation exists?
It does exist. That's what the family childcare home and the group childcare home are, is in-home. And a requirement for the license is that the provider also is the primary resident of the home.
That is required by the license.
So wouldn't our ordinance for residential prohibit a commercial business in that neighborhood? Whether it be daycare, whether it be a sports shop? I mean, I don't.
Our current ordinance allows them a special land use.
The one on the service drive is zoned residential.
Is it?
It is.
They've been there for like 40, 50 years. I know them well. So
C of O in 86. I think I just had to give him a copy of it. That's when they had their updated C of O.
For a long time,
Off of Haggerty.
since
the
before I
service drive, it's
graduated from high school. And that was ancient time ago.
okay.
So where are we?
I mean, so it sounds like the discussion is essentially, you know, we don't want commercial necessarily nested in neighborhoods. I still would, I know we discussed the frontage and removing frontage requirement previously about being on a primary or secondary road. There are other county roads that, you know, maybe it's not necessarily in a neighborhood, but it still might be appropriate or near residential for, you know, childcare. It is a little bit limiting on location that these facilities can locate with that frontage requirement. But it sounds like the setback in the green belt is something that Planning Commission would like to keep. I also took out the 150 square foot per child. It does get up. I kept the 5,000 minimum, which is still like significantly over the 1,200 square feet requirement of the licensing. It seemed, when kind of looking at other commercial childcare centers, that they were providing at least that. So it didn't seem like that was imposing too big of a barrier to, you know, how they're actually operating. If there are no further concerns with that, and that was a correct summation of kind of the direction, now we're on the new stuff. Which is child caring institution, which is sort of how this all got started. The permitted uses are mirroring the child care center in having special land use in, you know, the residential up to C2 and the mixed use districts. The provisions of the section apply to child caring institutions and child placing agencies with independent living programs. So that's another really weird piece where child placing agencies, which are generally just, you know, organizations, they're also licensed, but they are organizations that help with foster care or adopted child services. They also can have independent living programs, and I believe those, it goes up to like 21 for those programs. So that is a component of Guiding Harbors. They have a child care institution, they've got a child placing agency, and they also have independent living programs under that license. So this is for both of those, and that is identified in that permitted use table as well. I know there was also concerns with the uses not aligning from the definitions to the permitted use table. Accessory uses, that was the same as the previous iteration, allowing indoor recreation, education, administrative office spaces up to 50% of the inside, and allowing outdoor accessory uses as well. And then additionally, fencing, adding a fencing requirement, sort of similar to the group childcare, that planning commission's kind of discretion on what's appropriate for fencing, as there's probably going to be some variability. Well, actually, there's probably not going to be too many people who come in and request this, but if there are, they're probably not going to be, you know, exactly the same in what their fencing requirements might be. Any concerns, questions, or comments on the child care institution provisions?
Through the chair. Yes. I guess my one question would be if we're defining, we're calling out the 50% of the gross floor area. I guess my question is that just based off of what the applicant provides at the time of special land use? Or is that something that, like, on a rolling basis would require inspections or ordinance officers to confirm the 50% floor area?
So as written, it would just be when it's permitted, and it kind of then defaults to, I suppose, anything. It's kind of how everything, it's kind of that gray area of enforcement is, you know, it's usually kind of complaint driven.
Right, okay.
And then if they were ever to submit for any future update, anything that may not have to come in front of you, for some reason, staff would look at what's on the property to make sure that it does still comply.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
If you think of any, you have my email. The camps, again, kind of gets weird. If there is a reason why campgrounds are permitted in the RMH district that someone's aware of, let me know. But that was also flagged as kind of an oddity, as well as the commercial districts, allowing them there. It just seems a bit odd, but, you know, I understand that
Campgrounds,
I'm not aware of everything that's happened prior, so
campgrounds.
campgrounds, correct.
Yeah, my thought
Yeah.
on it was that it might have been someone, so the other thing about ordinance documents, they're frequently cribbed from other communities, you know? And I've seen campgrounds that are, or not campgrounds, I've seen residential mobile home parks where sections of the park are seasonal. You know, it's like a manufactured housing park, but it is actually made for, you know, Winnebagos and stuff.
Like
They
an
really,
RV like
they
an
really
RV
are mobile.
It's an RV park.
An RV park, yeah, it's an RV park.
But I think
And,
that's different than a,
well, that's what I'm saying, is it may have been cribbed from somebody else's set of ordinances where an RV park was.
Where would we
but-
put this?
But you'd put, so what I've seen in other communities, at least a couple, although not in Michigan, you got the seasonal RV park that, you know, grandma and grandpa come with the RV and are camped out for the summer, but then there's also children's activities during the day out on the back field of the RV park, so when the grandkids come, grandma and grandpa can ship them off to, you know, the summer camp at the RV park, and the kids all go out and play. So that might have been one of the reasons why campgrounds were listed as RMH, because it is something I've seen.
what's the zoning of that property over on Huron River Drive? It's the V that goes into the lake on the south, right next to Sandy's.
Oh,
Marina.
the zoning on that?
Yeah.
It's,
Multiple.
no, it's, might be, is it multiple family? I don't think so. It was conditional.
Scott,
No, it was conditional
Oh, was
upon
that-
development. I'm not
okay.
sure. I'm not sure, Peter.
It's not
Mr.
ag.
maybe
Commissioner.
ag.
It
It's
might be
ag.
ag.
Or it's either that or
No, and I'm
probably
just curious,
A1.
I'm just curious, because I
R1.
don't think there's any plan to have that as a campground, but that would be a great campground in my opinion.
Wouldn't that be
But-
great? Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
I mean, but I'm using that as a thought process, because
Yeah.
I mean, no one wants a campground in the middle of Myers, right? Or next door to Myers, but, I mean, I don't know.
But that's, my feeling on it is that it was put there because if you got that general zoning, then a person could do it, put it in, and I
don't know
have
where
no idea when it was put in there, so
Do
I'm.
we have a provision for RV parks that are separate from RMH?
Look,
I don't know.
Rabbit hole.
It's a campground.
I feel like that's something I should have known by now.
Well, I think
but
that's a
don't know.
campground.
Is it a?
An RV park.
I mean,
would be considered-
I don't know because I've seen
IRV
'em-
and we go to campgrounds.
I know, but I've seen them where you've got your double wides in the front, you know, the permanent, the permanent manufactured housing in the front, and then the back is for seasonal. Right, and the RVs come in and occupy the back half of the mobile home park, and then, yeah. They're kind of,
Well,
They're kinda
rather than,
neat.
rather than creating a separate thing or a separate terminology why is it there? Because you would have to create a separate zoning
yeah, I mean, I'm okay
requirement for the
taking it out.
land in order to classify it as, so where would you put it? What would you put it under?
I don't know.
Residential mobile home. It's a mobile vehicle. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, what they may have gone through 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whenever it was stuck in that.
I'm okay not having campgrounds in RMH, Ms. Sayer.
I-
Striking it seems okay to me.
Yes,
And the same with the C1 and C2, and just having it as special and
Special
Ag.
in ag seems reasonable to me.
kind of mirrored for the day camps, the day camp and travel camp. So when considering how to kind of approach the camps, there were kind of two trains of thought. One is based on the duration, but then I think the bigger thing is actually the location, where the day camp and the residential camp both require a campsite, a specific campsite that's also regulated by the state. And children's travel camps and troops don't, so the kind of direction is that travel camps and troops are subject to temporary land use approval standards. These are the ones that are administrative, and the day camps and residential camps require a fixed location, have to comply with the district that they're in, and they have to be located on a campsite that complies with the use standards of our campsite ordinance.
Seems reasonable.
So essentially, it's just kind of slotting it into the existing ecosystem that our zoning ordinance has.
I don't remember anything in there specifically about it. Sorry, he's talking about RV parks.
Yeah,
He says
sorry.
he
RV
doesn't
parks
see
has
anything,
to-
and he did a search and didn't see RV park,
It's-
and I said, and I did a search too,
falls
and
under
I don't remember it.
campground.
Huh?
Recreational vehicle falls under campground.
Falls in a campground.
Sounds good.
Well, something to consider, make sure it's in line with whatever ordinance we have there, I suppose, so we're not contradicting anything.
And then finally, this might be the easiest, maybe, foster homes. It's permitted everywhere, just to kind of be clear that it's not permitted. But basically, it's saying that they foster family homes and foster group homes are permitted by right, accessory to an existing residential dwelling or permitted dwelling in all zoning districts. The license, this is like, I guess, repetition from the license, but the licensed foster home provider must permanently reside there, and that, you know, it's not subject to the use approval of zoning. It's still required, the homes still have to meet the setbacks and everything of that nature, but they don't have to go through an additional permitting process for that use. And that's mainly just because, you know, foster homes are, you know, it's getting really close to regulating, you know, adopted homes, things like that. It's a home where a child's living, you know, full-time. I don't think there's a reason to kind of regulate that. And all these regulations are basically just so that it's not confused to regulate that.
That'd be one where I'd say that's probably not a good idea. You can't build a home in the M2 district. It's not allowed. So
But there may be a home that's there that they request to be a foster home.
if the home is there and it has an occupancy, it has a certificate of occupancy, and there's already somebody in it, and they want to run a foster care business, they're already a non-conforming use, right? They're living in an M1 district. That's okay. You're allowed to have existing non-conforming uses, and you're allowed to then, if you want to start up a foster family group home, go for it. You're already in an existing non-conforming use. But if someone says, I've got this wonderful M2 parcel that currently doesn't have any industry on it, doesn't have a factory put on it right now, but I'm gonna build a foster home, so I wanna build a really nice, big ranch-style house on it, then by this thing that says permitted by right, they're suddenly permitted by right to build a ranch house on an industrial parcel.
Well,
Then when their use changes, what happens? We just got a residential building on an industrial thing, and we created a nonconformity, right? So it shouldn't, you shouldn't in the table of permitted uses allow it and then say, subject to the use standards, because the use can change over time, right?
well, so the principal use of these, so we don't have, some ordinances have things for like home-based businesses where it's like accessory, they have an A for accessory. We don't have that, so I wasn't trying to introduce that into this kind of thing. But the item B is permitted by right as accessory to an existing residential or permitted dwelling. So it would have to be, you wouldn't be applying to create a foster care home. It would be applying to build a single-family dwelling or whatever, residential. And then, foster home. So if it's in a district that doesn't allow residences, then it wouldn't be permitted in the first place.
Yeah, and that's why I would say, don't put a permitted in the table. If it's not permitted, if a home is not permitted in that district, don't mark it down as permitted by right. That's confusing. If someone comes along and has an existing non-conforming residence in a district, well, there's nothing that prevents them from putting a foster home in it. But to put foster home, group family foster home permitted by right in the big print and then have the fine print take it away, doesn't seem real good to me. I would say don't mark permitted by right where it's not really permitted by right. You can't build a house in M1.
What happens if a home is already in M1? It's a small 900 square foot home. A couple buys it, moves in, decides to become foster parents, needs a bigger home, tears the home down. Now they're in the,
There's rules about existing nonconformity and how you can update or rebuild a structure in case of a fire, or the amount to which you can extend its floor plan before it becomes a problem, before you lose your nonconforming status. There's already rules in there for that. So it's not allowed, right?
A lot of neighboring ordinances defined foster care homes, but then just left them out of the permitted use. If the intent is not to have that, I wouldn't have it in there with no permitted things, because then that to me, if I'm trying to be a foster parent, I would look and see and say, oh, I can't be a foster parent in Van Buren. So I would just remove the line entirely if that's the direction. The intent was just to, make it clear that we're not zoning for this, like we're not requiring them to get zoning approval to be foster parents.
I would not put that in there. If they have a home and it's in a zone that isn't already residential, they're existing non-conforming, you've already got a principal use under foster homes that says they're permitted by right as an accessory to an existing residential dwelling or permitted dwelling in all zoning districts, that's okay, leave that line in. That makes it obvious that if you have a home here, yeah, you can have a foster home. But to put in the big matrix, the one line all the way across, permitted by right in every zone, is misleading. If someone did want to consider moving to Van Buren Township to start a foster home, or already had foster children and was considering moving to Van Buren Township, they may look at this line and go, oh boy, it's permitted in every district, therefore I should be able to build my home in every district, no problem, everything's gonna be great, and then they don't read the part that says it has to be an existing residence. So there's two ways of looking at it. And in this big grid, if a home isn't permitted by right in the zone, you shouldn't list the foster home as permitted by right.
I
If the
agree.
home's already existing, it's existing non-conforming, of course they're allowed to have a foster home. That's what existing non-conformance is for. But I wouldn't call it out in the grid like that.
Okay, so you're okay with the actual provisions of these use standards? You know, another option is like they don't have to exist either. I think it
Yeah.
kind of does help clarify that we're
I
not
don't even
touching
think,
it, but.
really, if you want to go back to the original argument about whether or not you should call that out at all, you don't need to. Because the law already says if it's an existing non-conforming use, of course they can continue to do a foster family home in their house. That's, the law would allow them to. So why do we even need to call out that it's permitted by right as an accessory use to an existing residential dwelling? Of course it is. Well, the reason that it's being called out is because we want to make it obvious that we thought of that. There's not going to be an argument about it. You can, of course, put your foster home in your existing home. That's one of those cases where, you know, you're adding an extra clarification. Point B is an extra clarification so that people don't have to wonder about whether or not it's right. They don't have to know the whole ordinance chain of what they can do and what nonconformity means. You know, so putting it in there that says it's allowable by right is great. That's wonderful. That's a good idea. But putting it in the grid as permitted in every possible zone, I think is misleading because it's not generally permitted in every zone. Your intent is that
I would agree with
it's
that.
only permitted when it's an existing.
I
nonconformity.
understand, yes.
Yeah.
The end.
Oh, that's pretty good. How many, can I ask, how much comments did you get? And did you get comments from most of us? I'm sure not all of us, but you get comment from all?
I've got 3 commissioner comments.
Shame, gentlemen. I know. Cool. And I assume that the offer still stands, that if we have other email comments we want to send to you, we can send them to you, right?
So it seems like probably not still at a point where you'd want to schedule a public hearing?
My 2 cents is I think we should probably wait for the other 3 as well to see what
Yep.
their comments are.
I think it's getting close, but I really want to hear what Commissioners Atchison and Grant and Treasurer Bud want to say.
Yes.
They had a lot of comments on it every time this comes up, so I think their input's pretty valuable.
All right, see you in September for discussion 4.
Okay.
All righty, moving ahead. General public comment. There's no one left, okay. We bored them out of here.
But Mr. Chairman, I don't think it was all that boring. I was having a good time discussing the finer nuances of ordinance drafting. It's an important part of our job.
I completely concur. I'm not saying that we were bored.
Oh,
I'm referring their level of boredom. Because it's like listening to a math lecture when you are not a math major. You watch the kids' eyes just go. Finally, since we don't have any general public here, anything from the commission? Anybody have anything to add, say? Then, at that point, do you have anything for us, Ms. Williams? Yeah, I know. I'm working at it.
My name tag out tonight, hoping that would help, because when I have my name tag out, I get Edwards.
You got it a couple times tonight. I'm working
That's
at
okay.
it.
I know you're talking to me. I do not really have anything this evening. As of right now, the 26th agenda is going to be the final site plan for Project Cannoli and the final site plan for the DTE ITC portion and temporary land use for the Corby Energy laydown site. Update on that site behind the mobile
BP,
gas
or the
station.
mobile.
The BP owner owns that site between Haggerty and Independence. or Old Haggerty, depending on who you ask. They do have a soil erosion permit. Everything is going smoothly with that, with the county. We did get updates, we did get the plans for it. It may be because of Corby Energy, but it's getting done and completed. But that is all I have tonight.
Okay. With that in mind, I would entertain a motion for,
Through the chair,
yes,
I move to adjourn the meeting.
we have a motion and support to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. And